Coming up in this debut episode of the Shadowcast, we kick off the McLaren Shadow Project 2019, head to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for a sim racing showdown with a pretty decent backdrop, and get you up to top speed in Forza Motorsport 7. Hi, I'm Shay, and welcome to the very first episode of the Shadowcast, your monthly roundup of everything that's been happening in Season 2 of the McLaren Shadow Project. As the lights go green on this year's competition, current champion Igor Fraga is already busy going head-to-head with the very best in sim racing. We caught up with him and the team in Indianapolis as they faced off against Fernando Alonso's esports team in partnership with Logitech G at the iconic Indy 500. If Forza's your racing game of choice too, it might well be your ticket to competing in the McLaren Shadow Project this year. We've got some tips to help you properly send it around the track, and who knows, maybe you've got what it takes to race your way to McLaren HQ in December. Oh, and if you're into your swag, watch to the end of this video for a chance to win some pretty cool prizes. But wait, hang on, I'm getting ahead of myself. In case you're not familiar with the Shadow Project and what you can win, here's a refresher to get you up to speed.
Loads of games. Competitions spanning the globe. Just one winner. This is where sim racing and real motorsport collide. This is the McLaren Shadow Project 2019. Now entering its second season, McLaren Shadow Project is a global hunt for the best sim racing talent out there. Competitors from around the world will race in online and regional qualifiers from July to October 2019 for a spot in the finals in December, where the ultimate prize in motorsport awaits: a spot on McLaren's esports racing team. With qualifiers spanning the four corners of the globe, it's the most open and diverse competition of its type, and the winner could be you. Feeling confident? There's no other competition in the world like the McLaren Shadow Project. Go and look for yourself, we'll wait. In our search for the best sim racer in the world, we host competitions on mobile, console and PC on titles like R Factor 2, Real Racing 3 and Forza Motorsport 7. If you're speedy behind the wheel of any of those games, the McLaren Shadow Project is your chance to turn your dreams into reality and earn your spot racing for McLaren. The winner earns the chance to take part in once-in-a-lifetime experiences at the awesome McLaren Technology Centre in the UK, including the McLaren DNA Driver Development Programme. They'll even get a custom sim racing setup built in their own home thanks to McLaren Shadow Project partners Logitech G and Alienware. And if that wasn't enough, they'll also get the chance to be let loose on the track in real racing cars. As sim racing grows into a truly global phenomenon, the McLaren Shadow Project is proud to offer a unique opportunity that goes beyond prize pools and trophies. Although, yes, there is a prize pool and a trophy too. He liked it. That's 2018 McLaren Shadow Project champion Igor Fraga. He beat over 525,000 competitors to be crowned the Season 1 Shadow Project winner, and can rightfully claim to be one of sim racing's elite talents. He spent the following year developing his skills both on and off the track with the help of McLaren's driver development smarts. Want to be the next Igor? Who wouldn't? Here's how you can get involved with Shadow Project 2019. Firstly, subscribe to this channel for more updates on regional qualifiers you can get involved in, along with expert tips on how to up your sim racing game and event coverage from around the world, starting with the Indy 500, where McLaren's Shadow Racing team faces off against Fernando Alonso Racing in a virtual battle of the Brickyard.
But more on that coming up next. Now it's back to Shay in the studio.
So that's how the Shadow Project works. And here's the kind of experience it offers the winners. 2018 champion Igor Fraga and his team headed out to the Indy 500 in May to face off against Fernando Alonso Racing. Here's how they got on.
The Indianapolis Motor Speedway, home to the historic Indy 500, where the fastest and bravest in open-wheel oval racing have met each year for over a century. And in 2019, it's also home to a different kind of racing. This year, the McLaren Shadow esports team travelled to Indianapolis to compete against Fernando Alonso Racing in an innovative sim racing event in partnership with Logitech G. Within the grand surroundings of the Indy 500 itself, they took to the virtual version of the track in Forza Motorsport 7 and battled for supremacy. Representing the McLaren Shadow esports team were Ollie Parkala, Bono Huis and 2018 Shadow Project champ Igor Fraga. Facing off against them were Shadow Project semi-finalist Christian Kwiatkowski, Matt Malone and W Series star Jamie Chadwick. For all the races, it was a big moment, and for Igor, it was another chance to enjoy the unique opportunities that winning the Shadow Project has earned him. A series of 3 10-lap qualifying sessions would determine the starting grid for the race, which would also take place over 10 laps. A mix of raw pace, racecraft and strategy would be needed to prevail, and all the drivers went in having undergone rigorous preparation.
For the race today, I've tried obviously get used to the oval racing. That's something what I don't usually do. Indy cars differs from the Formula cars what I drive quite a bit. Well, you have a lot of downforce and whatnot, but the driving style is different. Here you need to be a more strategic.
The Indy car comparing to the F1 car, it's a little bit more aggressive, let's say.
Well, an F1 car compared to like an Indy car? Well, the biggest difference is one's designed to turn left and the other one goes left and right. So that would be the biggest difference. But I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I know everything about the inner workings of the mechanically and how they work, but I know they're both extremely fast and loud and exciting.
So they're all coming in around the track now. They're about to start their first flying lap here. They've got 10 laps to get their best times in, and I'll do my very, very best here to let you know exactly what their times are. Ollie then back into the 39.5s right now. We've got a 39.459 then to a 100th of a second off of his quickest time for Bono. Yui's watching Christian here. Can he looks most likely to close the gap to the Shadow guys, but currently has only produced a 39, well, I say only, a 39.491 is still a very quick time indeed. Hugging that wall is a 39.431 then for Ollie Pakala. And actually, Igor went quickest on the last lap with a 39.382.
Igor took the initiative in qualifying, setting a 39.382, which wouldn't be beaten throughout the 3 sessions. Barely a tenth separated him from teammate Ollie Parkala though, who earned P2 with a lightning quick 39.431. Bono Huris made it a shadow lockdown across the top 3 with his 39.435, just 0.004 of a second slower than Ollie over the lap. Christian Kwiatkowski qualified fastest of Fernando Alonso Racing's roster with a 39.466, followed by Matt Malone on a 39.542 and Jamie Chadwick's 39.578. An incredibly tight qualifying session then, with just 0.2 separating first and last. Beginning the race from a commanding position, occupying all 3 of the top slots, the Shadow racers nonetheless had a lot to consider before the lights went green.
The strategy for the race is just not fall far from the pack, because there is a lot of slipstream.
It's a 6-car race, you know, so you don't have a far to do many mistakes, or if you start battling against each other, you need to make sure that you don't lose time.
My strategy for the race today is just hold that inside line, because these guys over here with Shadow, they're gonna, any little inch that you give them, they're gonna take it.
Slipstream will be the key, and you need to be there on the slipstream at all times, because if you lose the slipstream, then you lose the position and you lose the race.
The finishing line will be very tight with all the cars, so you cannot be doing any mistake. You have to be inside of the pack, and when you have a chance, go ahead, I think.
I like to, be intuitive when I do racing, so I'm feeling confident I can do some intuitive, it should be a good race.
And we are good to go here. So 10 laps of Indianapolis Motor Speedway here in the IndyCar on Forza 7 by turn 10. We've got McLaren Shadow versus Fernando Alonso Racing in a winner-takes-all.
Ollie got the best start off the line, going clear of Igor, who bogged down on the grid and then lost another place as Bono snuck up the inside going into turn 1. Christian also got a great start, tucking in behind Bono and taking P3 as the pack entered the first turn, while Jamie and Matt watched the scrap unfold from P5 and P6. That running order only lasted as far as the opposite end of the brickyard though, when Igor seized his opportunity to dive down on the inside of Christian and retake that final podium spot. Fair driving from both competitors. While Bono looked for a way past Ollie, Igor carried that momentum all the way into P2 at the beginning of lap 2. A bit of contact between Bono and Christian during turn 1 of lap 2 saw the Shadow driver drop down into P4, while Igor lined up Ollie but still couldn't find a way past. While those two squabbled for top spot, Christian and Bono gained ground behind. Then, halfway through lap 3, disaster.
Actually, he's been turned. Igor Fraga and Bono come together. It looks like there may have been a bit of contact between Christian and Bono, and Igor facing the wrong way now. So it's a 1v1 situation. Olli Pakala of Shadow versus Christian Kwiatniewski of Fernando Alonso Racing.
Contact between the Shadow cars of Igor and Bono sent both of them spinning out and into the bottom of the running order. Bono pitted immediately, while Igor stayed out and tried to regain lost ground. That left a huge gap between Olli and Christian in first and second and the rest of the pack. They continued to duke it out until lap 6, and Christian finally found a way past and broke free of slipstream range. Olli caught right back up at the end of lap 7 though, and moved back into P1 with a confident move down the inside. Sadly for the other drivers, the gap between themselves and the front pair just couldn't be bridged. But the scrap for the final podium place was still on, and Jamie Chadwick held it with a vice-like grip. Having led for most of the race, Olli began the 10th and final lap with Christian just inches from his rear wing, and looked set to take the victory. That is until the very last corner, when loss of rear grip on the corner exit sent him sideways and scrubbed off his speed. Momentary contact between Olli and Christian sent the Shadow racer into the wall, while Christian went on to take the win. Jamie Chadwick managed to pip Olli to the finish line and claim P2 for Fernando Alonso Racing, while Olli finished P3 less than a second behind. Matt Malone claimed 4th, while Igor and Bono, who sustained damage in their cars in that heartbreaking lap 3 incident, rounded off the finishing order. Not the result they would have wanted going in, but a strong performance from McLaren Shadow and an indication of just how closely matched all 6 competitors were on the day. For all the drivers, racing at the Indy 500 wasn't just another competition. It was a chance to show the world how much the line is blurring between motorsport and sim racing, and the level of training and dedication that go into both.
It's very different, but it's interesting, how the guys that come into esports actually go into real racing and how competitive they are. So there's got to be some similarities in there, and it's super tough and competitive. So I think that's quite similar. But yeah, it's interesting, as the games develop, how much, you can compare the two like for like.
I got involved in the first simulator over in Europe and in the beginning here in the United States, with some of the NASCAR team. And the improvement that the simulation side has done in the last 6 years has been comparable to what we have done on real world in the last 35 years. I can talk to you with confidence. We use simulation as a tool to improve what we do on the racetrack. I would definitely say that nowadays, without the simulation side, we would not have as good races and as good race cars as we have nowadays. It becomes an essential part of the sport, almost like a tire or fuel is.
IndyCar driver Joseph Newgarden, who finished 4th overall at the 2019 Indy 500, also dropped in to say hi and give his 2 cents on sim racing.
Well, what I love about simulation now is it's giving so many people an opportunity to try racing. You can see if you have a skill set, if you have a talent within the sport, figure out how to get involved in that way, get into the new simulation competitions that we have. Esports is such a growing industry, and racing has such a big presence. So push yourself to find ways to get into those different avenues that are created for drivers, and hopefully from there maybe you can get an opportunity to race in real life if that's what you're looking to achieve too. But esports is becoming so big, maybe you just want to become an esports driver. So nowadays, the sky's the limit, I think, for most people, and that's really a good thing so that we can find more talented drivers in the world.
The results don't always fall as you like, but the passion and determination to win is just as strong among the McLaren Shadow racers as ever. We'll get you next time, Christian.
Igor and the Shadow Project crew looking like they had an absolute blast at the Indy 500. This competition is the biggest of its kind, and we absolutely love hearing from you about it. Here's how you can get involved in the conversation this year. Follow @McLaren Shadow on Twitter and Instagram, sign up at mclaren.com/esports for more information, and obviously subscribe to us here on YouTube so you don't miss out on what we have in store for the year ahead. But now it's time for some Forza Motorsport 7 tips to help you shave a few tenths off those lap times in the frankly jaw-dropping McLaren Senna.
Are you looking to raise your game in Forza Motorsport 7? Fancy optimising your McLaren Shadow Project qualifier times? We've got you. Let's head out onto the track in the McLaren Senna and show you 4 tips that will make you quicker. First things first, if you really want to go quick around any track in Forza Motorsport 7, you're going to have to let go of that comfort blanket and turn those assists off.
The more assists you enable, the less control you have of the car, and while auto braking, steering and stability control will keep you on the track, it won't make you any faster. Manual gearing is especially important as this lets you use engine braking to control your stopping distances and keep the revs where you need them throughout each corner. Many Forza Motorsport 7 drivers will turn off a lot of assists but leave the racing line on to give them an idea of braking points on circuits they're not familiar with. That makes sense when you're learning a track, but when you really want to push the envelope, it's time to ignore the colours completely. Often you can brake much later than those scary red arrows advise, particularly when using a high downforce setup. And you might even find a different line-on approach to the corner is actually faster. You want to use the whole track to its limits. This includes braking, turn-in, cornering phase and exit of the corner to maximise the speed and momentum you carry through that corner. Shifting the weight of the car around is key to Forza Motorsport 7's handling. Weight shifts back under acceleration, forwards under braking, and moves in the direction you turn in as the suspension on that side takes the load. Going fast is about maximising that momentum so that when you throw the car's weight into a corner, you can keep it going. The more adjustments you have to make mid-turn, the more you lose that momentum. That means managing the weight of the car comes down to picking spot-on braking and turn-in points, and making sure you have the weight centered again before flooring the throttle. Hand in hand with weight distribution is traction. Usually when you lose out on the optimal lap time in Forza Motorsport 7, it's because the rear wheels have lost traction and you have to spend time making adjustments to get that traction back instead of propelling yourself through a turn and down the straight. Keeping traction is all about managing your revs so that they don't creep up too high on corner entry when you're braking, or on the exit when you want to lay the hammer down and accelerate out as quickly as possible. It's also about keeping the rear tyres from losing grip mid-turn. They'll do this when you ask too much of them by carrying too much speed into the corner or flinging the steering violently in one direction or the other, unsettling the weight of the car. Smooth steering and optimal braking points will minimise your loss of grip and keep you stuck to the track throughout your lap. Lastly, remember to actually enjoy yourself. It's something that you can lose sight of when you're running endless laps of the same track in the same car, trying to string together that perfect minute and a half of concentration and muscle memory. But driving is about the thrill of sensation. It's about enjoying the feeling of being put in charge of a machine designed to go ludicrously fast. If you're not enjoying that feeling, just take a little break. The sector times will still be there when you get back. So there we go, 5 tips that will hopefully bring about a few purple sectors in Forza Motorsport 7 for you. Lose the assists and lines, keep the weight where you need it, use the revs, braking points and steering action to control traction, and remember to enjoy it. Hopefully those tips have given you food for thought on your next run of practice laps. Back to the studio.
So that's all we've got time for this month. But before we go, we're giving you the chance to win some serious Shadow swag. This cap signed by star IndyCar driver Joseph Newgarden and former F1, IndyCar, NASCAR and Le Mans driver Max Papis, as well as a Shadow Project t-shirt and hoodie. To be in with a shot of winning this awesome merch, simply get in touch with us on Twitter and tell us which McLaren driver, past or present, you'd love to race off against in-game. The competition is open until June 28th, and you can find the full T's and C's in the description below. Coming up in the next episode of the Shadowcast, we're kicking off our Sim Racing School series, and Ollie Pakala lends his expertise to teach you how to set your car up like a pro. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you never miss a video. And check in with the Shadow Project socials for regular updates on everything we've been up to. Catch you next time.